We live in the, Disneyland of temptations.
I mean, why are you not fit? I am fit.
I want to stop smoking and I want to stop drinking alcohol. I want to stop eating sugars. I want to stop all that. And then we are like running all over the place with a sugar rush all the time.
It's the dopamine rush,
It's a dopamine rush. Yes, I'm using this phone all the time. I should stop it. Come on, man, 10 minutes. Come on, one dish would not change anything. One, we don't know after a point how to say no.
Why? Hello and welcome to the podcast Living Consciously. I'm Mihaela Nedela Perianu, and together with Rajesh Ramani, we are continuing our episodes on how to live consciously, and today we will cover the topic of temptation. So Rajesh, why is it so difficult to resist temptations?
Temptations bring us pleasure. And our minds are conditioned to receive pleasure.
To receive pleasure?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure makes us feel good. So it's a happy experience. And so we all want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we want to go back to happy experiences.
So then that's good because we are happier, right?
Correct.
We have more options for being happy.
Yes.
Chocolate, comfort food. What are the temptations?
Oh, we have so many temptations around us. And we live in the, Disneyland of temptations nowadays. Because we have access to so many things that our previous generations did not have. Access to information, access to entertainment, access to food of all kinds and forms, access to pleasures in many forms and ways. And even access to all the travels that we could do when we think about it. So we live in an age where most of the material goods and our sensory experiences can have a lot of choices. So having said that, temptation is good because it brings us pleasure. Because of the overwhelming choices that we have, we end up like a person who enters a buffet with 2,000 dishes and walks out pretty dissatisfied because we dip our spoons into each one of them trying to get as much as possible, and at the end of it not knowing exactly what we ate, and at the same time left with the feeling that I didn't taste the other 1,500 of them. So
it's the fear of missing out.
The fear of missing out drives our temptation much more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And this temptation, the reason we're not speaking about it as just a habit, but more as a temptation is it's much powerful than a habit in terms of how it pushes us into that space. And then, if you walk on a street in any city, for example, you walk on a street and then you see all those neon lights and then boards, everything beckoning you to have some other experience or some experience or the other. If you open your laptop and then there are these advertisements in everything, and then there is social media, and then there are influencers. So instead of blaming the whole system, we should take responsibility for how we run our life. The main problem in this is, one, we don't know after a point how to say no.
Why? There are lots of temptations. Let me recap a little bit. And we talk here, we refer to the classical temptations, the old ones, like food, drugs, sex. Now we have the new temptations sold by social media, right? Good. They bring us pleasure. Good. Why is it so difficult to say no? What makes it so hard? You said that it's a habit.
It creates anything that you engage repeatedly creates a neural pathway in our brain.
Okay, right.
And then that is how all habits are formed.
It's autopilot.
It's autopilot, and we need it. Otherwise, every morning you wake up every day and then you have to learn afresh how to brush your teeth. it's a lot of wastage of energy.
That's my advantage with a broken wrist. I have to exercise new neural pathways because I'm doing everything with my left hand.
Exactly. You would see how energy consuming it is. And then, so this is the nature's way, or our own body's way of creating shortcuts so that we don't have to go through the learning experience every time. And
what do you mean to go to the learning experience every time? I mean, why is it a shortcut? And
it is a shortcut because we don't have to see all the pointers and to experience it afresh. Half of the time we wake up in the morning, we put a toothpaste in our brush, and then we start brushing we don't think, unless somebody is trying to practice 40 brush strokes or this side and that side. Again, that is a new learning behavior. So habits are very good because habits save us a lot of energy. Habits are also very good in certain things like driving. If every day you have to be aware of your pedals and then the steering and then the right side and left side, we would never get there. So habits are ways our brains function so that they get the best outcome with least effort. So our brains are structured that way. When these sources of entertainment, when the senses are bombarded all the time with so many things, then we don't experience entertainment for the sake of it. It's a diminishing marginal utility after a point. Your senses become tired. Your ability to absorb and experience whatever it is becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. So what we end up is a classic drug addict state. So the returns are very low. The dosage has to be increased. After a point, it starts consuming us so much. So this is what happens when we become addicted to anything. So whether it is social media also, after a point, if people are engaged too much in that, and then you see they don't really care about the content anymore. It is just mindless, swiping up and down and right and left, or consuming more and more of any of these things. So even, for example, an alcoholic doesn't actually taste the alcohol. Actually, it is the drinking that is more important than the taste and the experience of the drink itself. So this is where I believe things are going overboard. Addictions have been there forever. Habits have been there forever. But then the choices suddenly exploded in the last 50 years and 100 years, and more so in the information age. The choices has exploded, and then that means we are like a kid in a candy store or a candy land, and then we are like running all over the place with a sugar rush all the time.
It's the dopamine rush.
The dopamine rush, and then everyone sees the rush, but we don't see where it leaves us eventually.
Where it leaves us?
It leaves us in a down space. It leaves us, many people, into depression. It leaves many people into a strong inability to be aware and be present to life situations. So that's why, people cannot be present for a longer time. Their depth of awareness and attention is compromised, and also their scope of attention and awareness is compromised. So, everyone wants something to be done within few seconds, within few minutes, So the ability to wait and observe, have a deeper experience of anything, all that is compromised.
Okay.
And more importantly, people's confidence is compromised because everything is fast and everything has to be done pretty fast. Then people's meaning is compromised. So, once we rush from one thing to another, we are depleted in energy. And then we don't know what actually I want and what actually I want to invest my energy and time in. And then the mind is constantly like a monkey mind. It is wandering. And then all of these objects of temptation and situations are increasing that oscillation, that monkey mind so much, we become pretty much restless. And in extreme cases, even children, as they go through teenagers and then they get into the phones and all of that, And then it brings tremendous issues for youngsters, particularly with their growing brains and bodies, and they are going through a huge transition from a child to a young adult. And so it is bringing a lot of anxiety in people's minds. It brings a lot of dullness. They lose a lot of energy. Even adults, going through, some older adults have a foot on being slow and having a memory of a slower life in the past. And then so sometimes it is easier for them to recalibrate into that space. And people in the Gen X, and then they are caught up between here and not here, neither here nor there. And then, it has impacted them in their life. And then the new Gen Z, they are born into this world. I don't know how their future will evolve, but the present, it is taking a lot of toll on their mental health. So all
because
of this,
they are bombarded with too much information.
Yes.
That, for example, my generation, I'm Gen X. Are you Gen X as well?
I am Gen X, 70s. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So when we were kids and in our teenage period, I don't know in India, but in Romania, we didn't have information running around. Like we didn't have computers, we didn't have Wi-Fi, we didn't have iPhones. I remember that I had my first cell phone when I guess that I was 26 or 27. That was the first time when cell phones we got into Romania.
Yes.
As compared to my daughter that had an iPhone at, 10 or 12 years. So the brain is not structured to process so much information. And
Exactly.
Remember that I mentioned this in my podcast that I was listening to an American podcast about neuroscience, and they said that in the years 1800, in a lifetime, the span of life was like 30 and something years old, they got in their lifetime the information that we get in one day. And our brains are not designed to process so much, and that creates really anxiety because you don't know what to choose.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head. Our brains have not evolved to process so much information and all the bombardment of all of that. So what happens is, it is just running empty.
What do you mean?
That is, the reels are running, the information is passing through us, but then there is no deeper engagement in any of that. So what happens is, it's basically like, we are browsing through them all the time without having captured anything of essence. And it is not converted. If it is information, it's not converted into deep thinking. And if it is a pleasure, and that pleasure is also not absorbed deeply so that it leaves a lasting impression upon us. Maybe growing up, eating an ice cream, which was pretty premium where I was coming from India. Not that we didn't have ice creams, but my parents would take us once in 2 months or 3 months to have an ice cream.
And then you really enjoy it.
And then there was not much options. That is you go to an ice cream parlor and then you get 3 options or 4 options at the most. And then you have it. So the impressions of those experiences, the joy of those experiences are much stronger in our minds, in our psyche, than many of the fleeting experiences, So now we have so much choices. We don't remember. I don't remember what I eat in each country even. It flies so fast. And then we always end up with a FOMO, I have one meal and how many things can I eat? I have 5 days and how many experiences can I have? So there is a constant restlessness in people around all these choices.
How can we build healthier habits and resist this, the anxiety that is caused by so many choices and information around us?
See, we have to take responsibility for our individual condition or for our people who around us, because that is really, really important.
And what do you mean by taking responsibility? Is acknowledging what's going on, that I'm surrounded by lots of temptations, right?
Yes.
And to reframe, to learn to reframe. Like, do I really need this?
Yes. It is really that is the responsibility. So responsibility starts only when we start seeing consequences.
Okay.
If we are not aware of consequences of how it is affecting us, we will not be able to make any choices. Because, see, people think they make choices. People don't, most often they don't make choices. Whatever comes, the mind is like a wild horse. The senses are expanding in all directions. And then we think we make a choice, maybe to eat an ice cream or a chocolate. And then yes, I saw it and then I went it and made a conscious choice. No, you told yourself that you are making a conscious choice, but then the mind ran away to that experience already. The body was already primed to move towards that, everything. So in many cases, we tell ourselves to some kind of assuage ourselves that we are still in control, and by saying these statements. But if you watch it carefully, the trigger is pretty fast out of habit. The trigger is, and the temptation is the picture that is coming up in our mind. You think about that chocolate. You think about sitting there, in a lazy, in a sofa, and then in a nice posture, and then sitting with that phone, and then swiping up and down. That picture itself brings some kind of a urge within us. So that is directing us. That urge to do that, that is like an addictive urge from within us. So that is driving us, and we are not, the conscious mind is not driving it. So what I want us to do is, are these choices not good for us? Earlier we didn't have choices, but we have a lot of choices, so people can choose. Whatever they want, whatever they don't want, depending on their mindset, depending on their needs, depending on all of that. True, some amount of choices brings you freedom. But after a point, freedom becomes a fallacy when the amount of choices increase beyond a point. So if you go to a dinner and then you have 10 choices, then there is a choice. If you have 1,000, you don't have a choice.
Then it's a burden.
It's a burden. So it becomes a burden. So what stops many people from recognizing itself is this false narrative they tell themselves, I'm a free person, so I have the choice to choose whatever I want. Only when they notice a bit deeper would they recognize that they are not choosing it out of their choice. The temptation is pushing them, the habit is pushing them. The dopamine rush is pushing them. The sugar craving is pushing them. So all of this, or FOMO is pushing them. So all of this is pushing them much further. So stop, observe, watch what is happening, how this habit is running. So at some point, some people are aware of what is happening.
And they are building new habits.
They are, sometimes they are not. Sometimes we are aware, but only partially aware. People would say yes, I'm using this phone all the time, I should stop it. 3 minutes later, they are still using the same phone for whatever reason. And then they tell themselves but, I can't be without my phone because it has all the important things that I have to do. Either it is work, family, and other important stuff. So they are in a conflict. One set of people are not in a conflict. They are fully on one side. The other set of people, or a majority of people, are in a conflict. They know that it is not helping, but they don't have the power to change it, because the power to change it means it changes so many aspects of our life. So that requires a lot of attention and a lot of bit of compromise as well. You have to let go of some of the desires. You have to let go of some of the ways we get entertained. We have to let go of some of the coping mechanisms. The phone is also become a big crutch and a coping mechanism. When something disturbs us, we can easily escape. In the olden days, when somebody disturbs you, it's very difficult to escape. You have to get out of the house. And if it is cold outside, you can't stay outside longer. You have to get to a pub. You can only drink so much. So now it is so easy. We can so easily escape into a make-believe world in there and then not get out for hours or days. So all this makes it a challenge, not only digitally, but also in the amount of choices we have in the physical world. It makes it a big challenge. So awareness of consequences is first step.
That's the first one. Okay.
Yes. And then secondly, awareness of the power of the habit. We should not underestimate the power of the habit. The habit runs us.
Okay, so I'm aware of the habit. I'm smoking, right? So first I need to be aware of the consequences of me smoking, right?
Yes.
It's a habit.
Yes.
Good. Then the second step?
So once you become aware of the consequences, and if you see the consequences, are you convinced that it has to be changed or not?
Okay.
Because some people say, like, I know the consequences, I'm fine with it. And it is up to them.
Yeah.
But, so they say, I'm fine with that consequences. It's okay. I'm saying, like, okay, if you are fine, if you have seen it well, and if you are fine with the consequences, then it's okay. Nobody can force us to do something. But if you see the consequences and the consequences are not pretty, then there is an intention that is formed to bring a change. So the intention initially would be very weak because it's a new intention for a new habit or a changing of an existing powerful habit. So the intention is weak and new. We have to start there. Then in that stage, we'll be like, the intention will be there, but then we'll be going all over the place, back and forth, often back. So the intention has to start growing. So this is the second stage. The intention has to grow. Once the intention starts growing, you will find the struggle. The struggle between the new intention, which wants to make a change, and then the old habit, which has powerful legs. It's been going on for ages and it's highly tempted. The new temptations are lesser, weaker. So the other one has like, come on, man, 5 minutes. Come on, man, 10 minutes. Come on, one dish would not change anything. So, I'm diabetic. So, and I'm highly tempted towards biscuits and cookies and stuff. Sometimes I eye them so much and then the temptation keeps me like, just one would not kill you. Just one would not kill you. And sometimes I'm waiting for somebody to say something about it. Somebody eats it and say like, oh, it doesn't have much sugar in it. Then that is like open the door. And then like, oh, she said it doesn't have enough sugar in it. So I can have it. So the power of our habits and the temptations are high, very, very high. We should not underestimate that power of it. That is why change is difficult. Everywhere, everyone is doing that. Why not me? Everyone is having a smartphone. Why not me? Everyone has all those choices. Why not me? Am I the only person to not have it? So the power of the habit has to be respected and to be dealt with with awareness. So this is step 3. We recognize the power of the habit in controlling us. Then step 4, we step away consciously from those situations and scenarios.
That trigger us.
The triggers are very, very important. It reminds me of a story that I read long back. It was so funny in a way, but there were a huge group of monkeys living in a tiny set of trees, and they were all mango trees and they had amazing mangoes. So one of the older monkeys who realizes that all of us have been eating a lot of mangoes and putting on a lot of weight. So it is better that we do some fasting and then so that we can all get a bit healthy. So the old monkey calls everyone else and then says like, what, once a week we are going to fast till sunset, and so that will help us all. Everyone agrees. So they are all waiting on the day of fasting. Day starts, and after a couple of hours, one of the younger monkeys comes to the older one and says, is it okay if I sit on the branch where the fruit is? And then the monkey says, yes, it's okay, you can sit on the branch, but no eating. Oh, no, 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 no. And then a few minutes or hours later, and then he comes back and says, is it okay if I sit near the fruit, but not eat it? And then the monkey says, okay, you can sit near the fruit. Some more time passes, and then the monkey comes and says, is it okay if I touch it and smell it, but not eat it? You know where the story goes. So eventually, there was no fasting done. After a couple of hours or so, everyone started eating the mangoes.
Oh, okay.
So our mind, this is why, change is difficult. We change for 1 day and 2 days and 3 days, and then we say, like, you know what, now I can have my phone with me, but nothing will disturb me.
That's the same with going to the gym.
Yes. So this is where the next step is consciously take us away from objects that trigger us the older habits, and consciously to move towards the triggers that bring us to the new habit. So this is where we have to be conscious around it. Only then we can break temptation, not just in our mind. We also need, because we also need physical sensory inputs that needs to change. If somebody is an alcoholic, they cannot sit in a pub and look at the alcohol all the time and tell them, like, I have a lot of resilience towards it. It's only time before it breaks. So initially, in the process of transformation, we need to step out and away from sensory inputs that bring us, or triggers that bring us into that space. And also we need to engage ourselves in sensory inputs and triggers and support systems that will help us to cultivate the newer habit. Whatever we are replacing the older habit with, and the newer habit has to be cultivated. This is the next step. As you start cultivating, the last step is, as you start cultivating this newer habit, you have to create a craving for the newer habit, which is a healthier one. Because what drives people, as I said earlier, there is this something that starts running within us once we see the craving. Craving. This is the craving. The craving is the one that pushes us towards the object, towards the habit.
Okay, so then it's the reverse thing is craving for the healthy habit.
Yes.
Craving for going to the gym.
Or craving for going for a walk.
Or craving for being vegetarian or whatever. Yes, or a
whatever
non-smoker.
is healthy for you.
Yes.
And whatever it brings back your balance, whatever brings back your equilibrium, and that is helpful for you. For some it could be the gym, for some it could be going for a walk, for some it's simply slowing down and sitting there. For some it could be more focused on and being more productive on a work aspect. So anything else that takes us away from this energy consuming habit and temptation cycle, whatever you want to cultivate, as you go baby steps into that new space, focus on the feeling that it leaves you with. Let me give you an example of a very simple example. Like you start a new diet, and then you are starting to have a shake, a protein shake, or something healthy. Initially, it tastes weird, and then first 2 days it tastes bad. Then we get used to it by the third day. By the fourth day, if you start recognizing what it does to your body, maybe it brings greater energy, maybe it brings a more stabilized energy. So maybe you start feeling all those differences in you. Recognize those differences. I would even say take selfies of yourself with that feeling. So the more you appreciate, acknowledge, and cherish the new feeling, there is a habit that is formed, and there is this craving towards that happens. One of my friends, she told one day she realized something, and then she did not buy a new dress for 5 years.
Okay.
And I said, wow, that is a long time. And she said, yes, but now I'm so used to it. used to not buying, I'm not even distracted by them when I walk by in a shopping area. So what happens is the power of the new habit is so much. If we are not distracted, we are not so much pulled into the older ways that easily. So this is the way we can regain our ability to focus and to choose and to engage with life in our terms, not on the terms that is dictated by somebody else or just by our runaway sensory inputs.
Yes. Okay. It's difficult.
I would say start with areas where you can make a difference. We should not start with the area where we have a long-standing, very powerful habit. We should start in areas where we have a weaker habit and we want to make a difference and change that.
Yes.
So, see, everything looks difficult because, the present habits that we have, at some point they were difficult. They were not easy. So we did go through that. One of my friends asked, how would you, he tasted alcohol for the first time. And then he said, why would anybody in their right mind be drinking this bitter liquid?
It's the same with the guys that are not smoking when they taste. It's like, why would you do this to yourself? But on the other hand, my take on it is, and sometimes I'm annoyed when people say, "Oh, why do you smoke it?" So, and then it's like in my mind goes being defensive. It's like, why do you have 10 pounds plus? I mean, why are you not fit? I am fit. You see, we all have a bad habit. We all have good habits and bad habits. And I think that speaking about temptation, what comes now to mind is not to judge ourselves.
Oh, it is very,
because
very important.
That's the...
See, I will make 2 points there, Mihaela. The first one is, you're right. The more we judge ourselves, the difficult it becomes to break away from it.
Exactly.
So, it is not about judging ourselves. But judgment happens when we define our habits as good habits and bad habits. That's why I never say bad habits. They are not useful right now.
Okay, it's useful and unuseful.
Yes,
it's not good or
because
bad.
some habits at some point could have been useful. For example, somebody came up to me as a client and then she was going through a bitter divorce and a lot of emotional challenges in that period. And then she came and then she said, "Oh, I've been smoking this last year a lot. I want to stop smoking and I want to stop drinking alcohol. I want to stop eating sugars. I want to stop all that stuff."
Yeah, then it's too much at once.
I said it's too much at once and this is not the time for it. I said, go and smoke because you need the support of that habit because so many other things are breaking in your life. So when your personal life and family life and all of that is breaking, you are trying to cleanse this one. This is actually a support system now.
Yes.
So that is why I would say...
So recognize when it's useful and put it in your life context.
Some of them we use it. It was useful at some other time in life.
Yes.
But now we have outgrown the usefulness. Take for a youngster, and then in a teenager, they need to fit into the society of their peers. And at that time, somebody says if you smoke, you are part of the group.
Oh, yeah, that's a classical one.
Classical one.
Yeah.
So I say, okay, do you want to become depressed being alone or do you want to smoke away for some time? But at some stage, we get up and then say okay, that was useful in that period to make friends. And then it's not useful anymore for me in my present state of life. That's why I don't say exactly this is bad habit, this is good habit.
It's useful and unuseful.
And it depends on the stage of your life and depends on your conditions. So each
and
individual
your life
decides.
Circumstances. Yes, like you said with this lady with the divorce, it was not a right moment. So instead of probably quitting smoking, it's better go to the gym. So that can, building a little new habit or walk for 10 minutes every morning and keep smoking.
Yes. So at some point when you have alternatives that you have built into your life, then other things can fall off.
Okay.
Because our mind is basically, it needs habits. That's what sustains us. Otherwise, the world is fresh and new every day and not many of us have the strength and energy to face it that way. So we always hide behind many of our habits, and that is essential in life. But we should just ensure that it doesn't take us and live our life. The habits should not live our life. We should live and use the habits.
They shouldn't lead us. We should
use
be
them.
in charge.
Yes.
And we decide. We are in control, not our habits.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Good. So Rajesh, we are closing this episode on temptation. And before we close this episode, is there anything that you would like to add, or we can just...
I would only reiterate the steps that we have to go through.
Please.
So the first step is an awareness of the consequences of whatever habit that is running us and whatever temptation that is flowing through us. And then the second step is to recognize the power of the habit and respect it and not take it lightly. And the third is to be kind with ourselves every time we fail in trying to establish a new habit. Being kind is, we need to be firm with ourselves, but also be kind whenever we fail. So firmness gives us the legs to move forward. Kindness gives us the energy to not punish ourselves.
And the patience.
So the next step is to cultivate a newer habit, whichever is healthier, and then give it more legs through strengthening the power of it and by focusing on the feeling that it gives. Whatever we engage in life, we engage based on the feeling that we might get out of it. But in reality, sometimes we get it, sometimes most of the times we don't even get it. But then what drives us is the feeling that we have somehow memorized in ourselves.
Yeah.
So that feeling, so we go for that feeling.
Yeah.
So that is how habits are formed. But having said all of these things, I will conclude by saying what appears to be good habits presently, at some point they may become not useful. Then we will have to reevaluate them constantly to see if they are still working for me. So these are the ways where we have to evaluate again and again and again to be in general aware of what is working for us and what is helping us and what is not.
Yeah. Evaluate the habits based on our current life circumstances.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you are in your 50s and you over-exercise, then you need to adjust even what trainings do you do, what gym do you do. I mean, everything is evolving and needs adjustment and
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Rajesh. So guys, thank you very much for watching this episode on temptation. I think that it's a subject that we are all preoccupied with, to say at least, because we all have smaller or bigger temptations in life. Please do not forget to subscribe to Mindfulness and Beyond, and for the international audience. And for the Romanian audience, please subscribe to Întrebări care ne schimbă viața. Thank you for watching us, and until next time. Bye-bye.